Hello and welcome to what I am tentatively calling Fictional Fare. Maybe Good Eats, Good Reads. I don't know, it's kind of TBD. Basically, this is supposed to be a series where I pick a book or a movie or a TV show that I really like or something that I'm currently reading or watching, and I come up with a recipe that should be a part of that world and make that with you, and then we sit in my book nook and we talk about it. We talk about whatever that piece of media is. That's the idea. I don't know, I've never done anything like this before, but I thought it'd be kind of fun. So today we are going to make Katniss's favorite lamb and plum stew. Little caveat, I'm typically vegetarian, like 90% of the time, not always. I'm like a little fast and loose with it, but usually vegetarian. And we're gonna do chicken, because I can do chicken, but I can't do lamb. I can't bring myself to do it. I also really didn't want to spend the money on that. So we're gonna do chicken. It's gonna be good, but it's not totally authentic. I'm sure you could sub it out with lamb if you wanted. Let's find where it appears in the book. So this is soon after Katniss and Peeta, they've done their like individual sessions with the game makers where they are scored after displaying their skills. And it reads, I load up my plate with breakfast before I join them. The stew is made with tender chunks of lamb and dried plums today, perfect on the bed of wild rice. I've shoveled about halfway through the mound when I realize no one's talking. I take a big gulp of orange juice and wipe my mouth. So what's going on? You're coaching us on interviews today, right? That's right, says Haymitch. You don't have to wait until I'm done. I can listen and eat at the same time, I say. Well, there's been a change of plans about our current approach, says Haymitch. What's that? I ask. I'm not sure what our current approach is. Trying to appear mediocre in front of the other tributes is the last bit of strategy I remember. Haymitch shrugs. Peeta has asked to be coached separately. Pretty pivotal scene there that our stew appears in. I've tried to make it kind of lean a little bit sweet, a little bit rich, because there's a lot of talk about the fare being really, kind of too rich for their stomachs. And then I also wanted to lean into some somewhat funky spices that you don't see in meat dishes all of the time nowadays. They were a little bit more common like back in the Victorian era where you saw more like spiced meat pies and stuff like that. I want it to feel like it comes from some other place, some other culture, like how it would to Katniss, where it's foreign to her. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and I think we can dive into the food prep. This is what you'll need. Olive oil, 1 sweet onion, 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, about 2 pounds of chicken thighs, some chicken broth, some kind of vinegar, whatever you have on hand, about 1 heaping cup of prunes cut in half, a couple tablespoons of brown sugar, ground mace, salt and pepper, nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice, and saffron, a couple sprigs of parsley, some of which is for cooking and some of it is for the garnish, apple juice or another fruit juice of your choice, wild rice. So into the first pot for the rice, I added 1.5 cups of washed wild rice and 2 2/3 cups filtered water. And then I also added in 1.5 tablespoons of salted butter. And then we'll go ahead and bring that to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, we'll cover it and cook it for about 45 more minutes. Okay, now into your stew pot, you are going to add in about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then once your oil is nice and hot, you're going to add in your sweet onion and your garlic. Saute those for a couple minutes until they start to get some color, and then you'll add in your chunks of chicken. And then about at this point, once the chicken starts to look a little bit less raw, a little bit more white on the outside, that's when you can add in your broth. I'm doing about 2 cups of water, and then I'm doing about 1 tablespoon of chicken broth paste. And then after mixing in your broth, you can add your spices. About 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, just a sprinkle of nutmeg, about 1/4 teaspoon or so of allspice, about 1/8 teaspoon of mace, about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then a couple strands of saffron. And then mix all that together and let it simmer for about 20 minutes or so. And let's go ahead and take that time to talk about the book. Welcome to my book nook, my little reading corner. I thought it'd be fun to have our very one-sided book club here. So, Hunger Games, let's talk about it. Also, feel free to grab a nice drink. This is orange juice. I actually got it to have with the stew, because in the excerpt where the stew first appears, she is drinking orange juice with it. So I was like, oh, I'll do that. And then I totally forgot about it. So this is my orange juice. It has high pulp, which I recommend if you like having a little texture, if you want your drink to talk back to you a little bit. Okay, Cheers. First, for the hors d'oeuvres, let's just talk about some kind of first initial thoughts. There's like a whole gigantic chunk of the book that Peeta is not in. Obviously, Gale's not in a lot of it because he doesn't go into the games. A lot of people talk about kind of how ironic it is that a lot of the discussion surrounding this book became, are you on Team Gale, Team Peeta? But it really did strike me how, like, it's not really about Katniss's relationship with him in a lot of ways. I think the biggest piece of importance in her relationship with Peeta is how it shows how she's thinking about the games, how she's thinking about how she's always being surveilled. I think that's what her relationship with Peeta really serves, for me at least in this read. She's very frequently in her head thinking, how is this going to play to the cameras? How is this going to play to the crowd that's watching? What am I projecting and what are people going to glean from that? People nowadays, they talk about, you're often on camera without realizing it. You're walking by someone's Ring camera, someone's on the subway and they're filming you and they post it to TikTok and it gets 1 million views because they made fun of you, and you don't know when you're being watched and you don't know how far whatever it is that is being captured can spread. The idea of like a surveillance state, both in the district and then of course in the games where everyone's aware that they're constantly being monitored and broadcast. But even at home, there's this sense of being watched by the peacekeepers, so that there's just this constant need to self-police because you don't know who's watching. And I don't think that that's entirely irrelevant to today. Obviously, it's to the benefit of the people in charge to have it be like you are being monitored, even if you think you're in private. And it's very 1984. It's very much like the thought police. And so they're kind of using fear to instill this sense of don't push your luck too much. Little lighthearted orange juice break. This is really tart. There's no sugar added, which is what I wanted. And I really like tart things, but man, it really gets your saliva shooting. This is really gross. Now moving on to our appetizer. So I'd like to do a little bit of just kind of pure literary analysis talking about an in-world element of this book. And that is the symbol of the Mockingjay. It's gonna be kind of hard to say stuff that hasn't been said 1,000,000 times before, but I'm just gonna kind of give my own thoughts. I think the most obvious piece of meaning there is it comes from the Jabberjay mating with mockingbirds. The Jabberjays were created by the Capitol to be another surveillance tool. And then when it started to backfire because they were fed wrong information, they tried to let the Jabberjays die out. They didn't. Instead, they mated with, well, maybe they kind of did, but they mated with the mockingbirds and kind of created a new species that the Capitol had never predicted. It's a symbol, of course, of the district's own rebellion, and it's a symbol of the Capitol not being able to control everything. And I think that Katniss's parallels start pretty early. She, in a lot of ways, does not follow their plan. She shows empathy to Rue. She lashes out during the private training session. Even her volunteering is not really according to plan. That doesn't really happen in a lot of the districts. And that culminates in her at the end saying to Peeta, no, they don't have to have their victor, do they? Something else that struck me about the symbolism of the Mockingjay in this read, which I think tracks with the rest of the series, especially considering the contents of the third book, Mockingjay, is there's some symbolism in the fact that there are lots of Mockingjays and they kind of like mimic a voice. If they like your voice, they're going to mimic it and you're gonna hear it all over. And obviously Katniss becomes a figurehead for this rebellion. She becomes the Mockingjay. And we know later in the series, we know that there are other efforts going on, that she is not the center of all of it. She is just the voice that helps to mobilize this. We see Mockingjays all throughout the book and all throughout the series. I think that maybe a significance of that is that there are rebels everywhere in this world, and Katniss is just one in a web of them, or a flock, if you will. She's not the only one that is refusing to follow the plan laid out for them by the Capitol. She's just the one that has the voice that they seem to respond to at large and that helps to set things into motion. Now we can move on to the entree. The topic of the entree, I think in a word, would maybe be humanization. I think that there are a lot of conflicting de- and rehumanizations that happen throughout this book. Within this book, there are hierarchies within hierarchies within hierarchies. So you have, districts 1, 2, and 4 are the career districts. They're the most privileged. And then kind of you work your way down until there's District 12 kind of at the bottom of the slush pile. And then even within District 12, you have the merchant class versus the seam. And so you have Katniss looking at Peeta thinking he's never had to want, he's never had to go without, he's always had fresh bread at home, not realizing until later in the book, no, a lot of the stuff that he eats is actually stale. And then you have, I'm sure, Peeta looking at other districts going, man, I live in District 12, we have nothing here, they have everything there, but they're still having to send their kids in District 1 to the Hunger Games. And then of course you have people in District 1 who are looking and going, man, I wish that I were in the capital, they have everything figured out there. And then even in the capital, we learn, it's earlier in the series, but we learn in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, there's a lot of need in the capital, just as it creates a sense of unease or dissatisfaction in everyone looking up. It also, I think, creates a sense of superiority, a sense of, well, the system has to be working for me in some way, that most people are able to look down the waterfall. So you have people who are like, yeah, we have to send our kids to the Hunger Games, but we're in District 1, we make all the jewelry, we're a wealthier district, we're able to train our kids to have honor and glory, we're gonna kind of reclaim what the Hunger Games is. It's not actually an oppressive tool, it's a tool for us to deliver honor to our kin. What these hierarchies really accomplish, which is talked about throughout the series, is they create a lot of infighting. So people, they are distracted, their attention is directed at each other, it's not directed at the powers that be. Maybe the Hunger Games is kind of a symbol for that, a symbol for the infighting that is intentionally orchestrated by those in charge. And then with those hierarchies, what happens whenever you see a really hard line between classes is it's hard for people in one class to see people in a different class as fully human. And a way to kind of fabricate that division is by making us hostile and ignorant about each other. It's by saying, I don't want the whole country to hear a conversation about how a day working in the agricultural industry, how that works. Even though that seems like pretty benign information sometimes, but still I think that they're seeing that any level of knowledge is dangerous. It creates a sense of, this is a real person with a real life who's facing real struggles just like I am. And the more that they can divide people, the more that they're fragmented and unable to unite and create any kind of change. And I think that is where information and acts of kindness are time and time again seen as something dangerous in this book. It's dangerous to decorate someone's hair with flowers when they die. It's dangerous to send someone bread who's not your own. They're the other. They're not you. They're not a part of the us. It's the them. So why are you extending a hand? Why are you creating a bridge? I think that you can probably glean that I think a lot of this applies to what's happening today. We know for a fact that social media, that the algorithms are built on outraging people. They are built on giving people this sense of just moral outrage and righteousness. They are wrong and that makes me feel good because that means that I'm right. And it creates a them, it creates a me. We hear all the time that our country is more divided than it's ever been. I don't think that that's unintentional, because that division, it only benefits people with power, whether it's political, whether it's financial. It only benefits them when, the 90%, when we're too busy fighting with each other, when we're so mad at each other that we can't have a conversation and share information, as opposed to unifying and saying, these are the things that we have in common that we all want, and let's accomplish it. I think that Katniss, she becomes such an effective figurehead for this rebellion because she kind of marries those two things. I think that she, through her acts of kindness toward people, I think that we see that she's willing to see people as human. She's willing to rehumanize them when they have been dehumanized toward her or for her. And she's also willing to make assertions about, this is right, this is wrong, I'm going to stand up for the former and stand against the latter. Now moving on to dessert, I'm just gonna say a couple of wrap-up thoughts about things that I love about this book. I love the depiction of food in this book. I think probably because Katniss is a hunter and spends a lot of her time thinking about food, gathering food. She has such an awareness of food in a lot of her settings. So we get some really fun descriptions of them. And then because she's, you know, experiencing foreign foods for the first time throughout a lot of this book, we get a lot of unique food items. Lastly, I'll just say, I think like other books that really resonated with me when I was growing up, when I first read them, I think it resonates because there's a message of you as an individual, you have more power than you realize. And I think that that is really important for kids to hear. I think it's really important for women to hear. And I think it's really important just for people in general to understand that, you know, you yourself, you are not the movement, but you can be a part of it. And being a part of it is essential. Always moving toward what you think the world needs to be, and always trying to instigate some kind of change. And even though Katniss does not always knowingly instigate change, she's a key part of it, and it just arises from her every now and again, just trying to do what's right, even when it's hard. Okay, now that book club is over, we can go back into the kitchen and we can try the lamb and dried plum stew. Now that the chicken is thoroughly cooked and we've let our spices start to leach out into our broth, we're going to add in our prunes and a majority of our parsley. Honestly, looking at it, I feel like it could stand to use some more prunes. So I'm just gonna add in the rest of my bag here, another, I don't know, third cup, half a cup or so of whole prunes, just uncut. And we're keeping it on a bit of a low simmer to get those prunes to soften up. So in retrospect, I'd recommend maybe not 2 full cups of broth, maybe closer to 1.5 cups. To sweeten it up, we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of lightly packed dark brown sugar. And then we are also going to do 1 tablespoon of your vinegar. I'm using a fig balsamic vinegar, which should hopefully bring some tang and then also hopefully bring out some of that jamminess from the prunes. And then I'd also like to boil out some more of that broth because we have a little bit of apple juice, about a third cup, maybe half a cup, depending on how thin or thick you want it, to add in right at the end here. But with that, that is the stew. So let's go ahead and plate it. Okay, it's done. It smells really good in here. It smells, I feel like you definitely smell the chicken, and then it smells like, just smells like all the spices, which is probably the dumbest thing ever to say in a video like this. It smells like the stuff that I put in it. And then there is like a fruity, just like a really sweet note to it also. So let's go ahead and try it. Cheers. Okay. Not to toot my own horn, but I think it's really good. Yeah, I really like this. I think that I have a big sweet tooth, so I'm gonna preface by saying that maybe like if you don't like things quite as sweet, cut down on the brown sugar. You might not even need it, but personally, I really like it. It's very wintry, you know, it's very like fall, winter. It feels very cozy with all of these spices. The main thing that I would change about this is I just put too much liquid at the start. I put too much broth. You could maybe even get away with, maybe start with a cup and then bump up from there, especially if you do want to have enough room to have the fruit juice at the end. Then I would say start with like a cup of broth, bump up to 1.5 cups if you need it. I probably did about 2 cups and it was just too much. It was too liquidy. And then, okay, I know that at the end of YouTube videos, they always say like and subscribe and click the bell and all that stuff. I think honestly, if I'm gonna send you away with a call to action, I would say leave a comment and tell me what you think of this whole thing. Of course, if you make this recipe, I'd love to hear what you think. And then I'd also love to hear what you think of just like the video in general, of this format. If there are any suggestions that you have for like, oh, I'd love for you to do XYZ book, movie, TV show, let me know. I'm totally game. Yeah, this was really fun. So I hope you had fun watching it. I had fun filming it. So unless editing totally kicks my ass, I think I'll do it again. So anyways, okay, yeah, all right, thank you so much. Bye.